Hey YouTube, Kiratui here, bringing you all my Fluffal, Frightfur, Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for Genesys format October 2025. With the release of Genesys format, Fluffals or Frightfurs were another big deck that could potentially be played. The majority of the points though for this deck go into Frightfur Patchwork, with Patchwork being 33 points each. The majority of the points for the deck were taken up by that card, so we had to focus more on the generic lineup of the Fluffal Frightfur cards to utilize the overall search power for this OTK Fusion deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. We're running 3 copies of Fluffal Bear, having the option to send this card from your hand to the graveyard to set Toy Vendor directly from your deck. It gives you the setup for the monster special summoning power of Toy Vendor and then the search power when it's sent to the graveyard, and being able to tribute this card to target a polymerization in your graveyard and add back to your hand. Add back power for our main go-to fusion spell as well, which the card is easily searchable in the deck also, so having that as another fusion target. The 3 copies of Fluffal Dog. When it's normal or special summon from the hand, you can add 1 Edgem Sabers or Fluffal Monster from your deck to your hand, except for Fluffal Dog. You can only use this effect once per turn. And then the added search power on top of this card just gives us another good target to special summon off of Toy Vendor, because it just has to be special summoned from the hand. So including the special summon effect of Toy Vendor after you draw and reveal this card. 3 copies of our Fluffal Penguin as well, having a draw to discard 1 option when this card is used for a fusion play. So another definite 3 of, so we can just go and draw into the needed cycle for the deck. The 2 copies of Fluffal Wings. If it's in your graveyard and you control Toy Vendor, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 Fluffal monster in your graveyard, banish it, then target then you can send 1, then basically to draw 1 card. Then you can send 1 Toy Vendor you control the graveyard to draw 1 card. So Fluffal Wings, while in the graveyard, is a draw 2, and then an additional search off of Toy Vendor when sent. So it's just more and more search power if you can easily get Fluffal Wings into the graveyard, all the faster. 2 copies of Fluffal Dolphin. You can target 1 Toy Vendor in your graveyard, set it, and if you do, send 1 Fluffal Monster or Edgem Sabers from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, you can shuffle it into the deck one of your fusion spells or polymerizations that are banished or in your graveyard. So this card can help to set up Fluffal Wings, also resetting up the Toy Vendor in the graveyard, as well as another set to then have as the target for the Fluffal Wings after we send it to the graveyard. And then lastly, the 1 Fluffal Owl, having the added search option to add a polymerization when it's normal or special summon, and then being able to pay 500 life points to fusion summon a Frightfur fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. You can only use 1 effect, but either you want to get the polymerization search, or if you already have polymerization, just use Fluffal Owl for the fusion play at the cost of 500 life points. For the Edgem monsters, 3 copies of Edgem Scythe. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you reveal this card, fusion summon 1 Frightfur fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including this card in your hand. And if a Frightfur fusion monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Added protection, but also being able to go into Frightfur monsters on your opponent's turn gives us the added play to either go into cards like Sabertooth or our Cruel Whale, which has the more generic option to go into than the destruction play on top of that. The 3 copies of Edge Imp Chain for the added search of when it declares an attack, you can add an Edge Imp Chain from your deck to your hand. If it's sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add a Frightfur card from your deck to your hand, which we have plenty of other Frightfur cards, but Patchwork is also an additional search that you can get off of this card. And then the 1 copy of Edgem Sabers, it's searchable off of Fluffal Dog, so we only need the 1 copy, because then once it's set up in the graveyard, you can place the top card of your deck to special summon this card back, which also helps to stack the Toy Vendor for you to use also. And then lastly, the 3 copies of King of the Swamps. Being the last monsters, it's a polymerization search, and it can also help to substitute for some fusion plays for the extra deck if we don't have the proper monster for it to use also. And for the spells, 3 copies of Toy Vendor. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card, draw 1 card, and show it. If it's a Fluffal monster, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand. Otherwise, discard the card you drew. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Edgem Sabers or Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand, having more search power, whether it be for our 1 of Edgem Saber October, or the many Fluffal monsters we run, Toy Vendor is a big help for the search and setup. The 3 copies of Frightfur Patchwork. Once again, this is where the majority of our points go, being a 33-point card in the deck. Adding 1 Edgent monster and 1 polymerization from your deck to your hand. So it's just search on top of search, being able to grab polymerization and then an Edgent of choice. Using this card, it's a once per turn, but it's also searchable off of other cards in the deck, like our Edgent Chain. The 2 Frightfur Reborn, being able to target a Frightfur monster in your graveyard and special summon it during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target one of your banished Fluffal or Frightfur monsters, and return it to the graveyard. So being able to then reuse some of the cards in the graveyard for our Frightfur Fusion option also. The 2 copies of Polymerization. It can be searched off of King of the Swamps, Frightfur Patchwork, Fluffal Owl, you name it. So we only really need the 2 of copies since it's just an engine card to use. The 1 Frightfur Fusion along with the 1 Frightfur Repair for the last of the Frightfur spells in the deck. The 3 copies of Fusion Deployment, being able to use this card to reveal Frightfur Bear, and then summon out a Fluffal Bear from the deck to the field. You're locked into Fusion, but it's really not a big problem since we're only running Fusions in the extra deck also. With the last of our main deck cards just being our 1 Trap, Frightfur Jar. Its name becomes Toy Vendor while in the field or in the graveyard. And once per turn, you can discard 1 card to draw 1 card, then show it if it's an Edgent monster. You can destroy 1 card on the field, otherwise place 1 card from your hand on the top of the bottom of the deck. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and have its attack till the end of the turn. So kind of an opposite. Toy Vendor being a Frightfur Jar to then use for the added setup of your Edgent monsters also. And then for the extra deck, we're running 2 copies of Frightfur Tiger, having the destruction option when it's fusion summon to target cards in the field, up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon and destroy them. Having a boost for all your Frightfur monsters, gaining 300 attack as well. And then being able to only control 1 Frightfur Tiger, but it's just more destruction power to use in the deck also. The 2 copies of Frightfur Sheep, needing Edgent Chain and a Fluffal monster to make it. If it battles, your opponent's card effects can't be activated till the end of damage step. If it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or its cards in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card, and it gains 800 attack. So just a floater onto the field also, and an easier fusion card to play. 2 Frightfur Sabertooth, needing a Frightfur Fusion monster and 1 or more Fluffal or Edgent monsters, being a little more difficult to summon out, because if it's fusion summon, you can target a Frightfur monster in your graveyard, special summon it, giving you back that fusion resource. On top of the fact, if it was fusion summon using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, meaning you have to rely on banish or bounce power to get rid of this card on the field. The 1 Frightfur Wolf for the multiple attacks you make to the number of fusion materials used for it. Cruel Whale for the destruction play. Frightfur Bear is mostly in here for the fusion deployment target, but Frightfur Leo having more of a destruction life point burn. 1 Frightfur Kraken for the option to target a monster your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard, getting around destroyed by battle or card effect plays. The 1 Frightfur Daredevil, along with the 1 Frightfur Chimera, and the 1 Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare for some of the more bigger Frightfur fusions to be able to go into also. With the last of our extra deck fusions being the 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, having a good number of Edgent monsters. If we only have the Edgents for options to go into fusion plays, then we have the Starving Venom to rely on from there. And then as for some of the go-to plays, being a going second deck, you definitely do need the added search and setup for your Frightfur cards. So having your initial setup, if you have your Fluffal Dog, and then the additional setup, let's say being your go-to plays for your OTK. So Fluffal Dog, your Frightfur Fusion, and then a means to grab your Polymerization. So you can use King of the Swamp. If you have these 3 cards, you have the potential OTK power against your opponent. You summon out your Fluffal Dog, using the dog to then search your 1 of count of Edgent Sabers, then using the King of the Swamps, discarding it to search out your Polymerization. Polymerization can then be used to fuse Fluffal Dog with your Edgent Sabers for the added fusion play for your needed monster, being your go-to destruction play, which is your Frightfur Tiger from there. And then Tiger can destroy 2 cards on the field, so this can hopefully clear your opponent's board. Then you use the Frightfur Fusion, banishing the dog and the saber from the graveyard, to then from there summon out your Frightfur Wolf, having the monster with multiple attacks then be able to use for the attack play against your opponent using the multiple attacks, and then the added additional attack boost thanks to your Frightfur Tiger using this play also. If you have the one additional monster to use for this play as well. Then you have the additional multiple attacks to use, but you need one or more Fluffal monsters, and you need that one additional one in the graveyard as well if need be. But then you have a good swing for damage against your opponent with just these 2 cards. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just wanted to update another deck for Genesys. It's more of a, nostalgic kind of feeling being able to update all these older decks, but just having to kind of downshift on the actual staples and whatnot we can use to go ahead and, adjust for the point system. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.